Akona Sise. Today we can work at the Ministry of Information and Communication and press briefing where they can call for every Thursday. Now we go inside the conference room for go witness the press briefing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's press update. My name is Abbas Saliu Kamara, Acting Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Communications. On behalf of the political leadership of the ministry, I would like to welcome you to this edition, 5th December 2019. In today's edition, we'll have representatives from 2 ministries and another entity. We'll have the Minister of Health and Sanitation, the Minister of the Ministry of Energy, Sierra Leone Cable Limited. But first, let me give you a brief press update. His Excellency Brigadier Retired President Julius Maada Bio has stated at the Judicial Training Workshop and Dialogue for Anglophone West Africa on 3rd December 2019 that bad political governance and corruption restrict civic space and destroy democratic polity. The training hopes to look at the effective implementation of global, regional, and sub-regional human rights norms in Anglophone West Africa. The forum was jointly organized by the Judicial and Legal Training Institutions and the International Commission for Jurists. The Sierra Leone News Agency, represented by the Acting Director of Information in the Ministry of Information and Communications, Mr. Emmanuel Ebitue, has participated in the just concluded 5th General Assembly of the Atlantic Federation of African Press Agencies held in Rabat, Morocco, from the 29th to 30th November 2019. In his intervention during the assembly meeting, the current overseer of SLENA, Mr. Emmanuel Ebitue, explained that amidst the several challenges faced in the resuscitation of SLENA, the Minister of Information and Communications, Mr. Mohamed Rahman Soare, considers SLENA like any other news agency around the world to serve as a credible source of information in Sierra Leone, and has therefore called on SLENA staff to establish new strategies to address the major concerns of the digital age and to address the various challenges in the flow of information locally and internationally. The Media Reform Coordinating Group Sierra Leone has on Monday, 2nd December 2019, undertook a board retreat at Hotel 510 to deliberate and set the Sierra Leone Media Development Strategy 2020 to 2024. The aim of the strategy is to promote a free and responsible media, democratic dialogue, consolidate peace, and support various national development initiatives. This, according to the document, identifies 4 priorities in which the strategy was to be achieved. 1. To promote an enabling media environment through legislative, regulatory, and self-regulatory systems reform that are in line with international norms. 2. To increase professionalism in the media landscape. 3. To promote gender concerns and address women's specific issues within the media. 4. To support and enhance sustainability in media institutions, revenue generation, and effective governance management systems. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, that was the press update. We apologize for the twinkling of journalists into the room. We made to understand that there are several events going on at the moment, and in so doing, we're going to employ snappy dexterity. We're going to move fast to the program and a few questions. In this light, I would like to call the Honorable Minister of Health and Sanitation to make a brief statement.
Good afternoon all. Let me first of all congratulate Mr. Saliu Kamara as Acting Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Information. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the President has made a call for Sierra Leone, or for the party, the SNPP, to move towards enhancing human capital development. In that call, we have focused on the provision of free quality education. In that call, we have also focused on the provision of healthcare service. And in that call, we will focus on the provision of food services in the country. Today, we are here to ask you to work along with the Ministry of Health and Sanitation in our roadmap towards what we now want you to know as universal health coverage. Universal health coverage. Way back in 2012, at the UN General Assembly then, it was viewed that it is an essential priority for development for the populace to have basic health service. Essential priority for development. In 2014, the UN therefore decided to designate the 12th of December as a day for awareness raising for everyone to work towards universal health coverage. 12th of December. Today is the 5th of December. We wanted to start raising your awareness a week before the day, the 12th of December. More importantly, at the last UN General Assembly, His Excellency the President, Brigadier Retired Julius Maada Bio, was given the honor to make the declaration in particular to Africa, for us to work towards UHC, universal health coverage. So your president, our president, has made a call for every country in Africa to go out and work towards UHC. If our president has been given the honor to make that declaration for Africa, it is therefore imperative on all of us to take the step and to ensure that Sierra Leone takes the lead. This year's theme, it says, keep the promise. Now is the time for collective action. Keep the promise. Now is the time for collective action. For the rest of the world to keep the promise, I think the first country to keep that promise have to be Sierra Leone, since our president has made the declaration call for all of Africa. Therefore, this afternoon, we just want to start to present to you the roadmap for us to keep the promise. One, the financial obligation towards health provisions in the country has moved from a 6.7% of the national budget in 2016 to a 7.5% of the national budget in 2017. And currently the value is close to 11% of the national budget to the Ministry of Health. It's up about 10.6, but close to 11%. This shows that as a country we are investing in ourselves to move towards UHC. The declaration, the Abuja Declaration for every country is 15% of the national budget. The Abuja Declaration for every country is 15% of the national budget. However, it is hoped that all countries by 2030, 11 years from now, would be in a position to attain universal health coverage. 11 years from now. So we are, as at now, 10.6% of the national expenditure designated to be towards the Ministry of Health. We think the very first intervention for that should be personnel. Personnel. And as you are aware, for 2019, the Ministry of Health was given the mandate to employ 4,000 people. The number 4,000 there is not as significant of the fact that it is 40% addition to the workforce. 40% addition. We had just under 10,000, and the Ministry of Health has been given the mandate to add 4,000 to that. 40% to that number. We want you to know and help us that the constraint as at now is the process of recruitment. The process of recruitment is lengthy, number one. And the next constraint is the deployment of those recruited to the various districts of Sierra Leone. I think that is the crux of the matter. I call it the crux of the matter because we cannot attain universal health coverage without ensuring that we strengthen primary health care. And primary health care are the facilities that we have in every chiefdom of Sierra Leone. And primary health care would be difficult to attain without the skill mix of the personnel that you require. Why this press conference is for you to help us sensitize the rest of the public that Port Loko district is not Port Loko town. Kenema district is not Kenema city. It is for us to have personnel in every chiefdom within the district. I say this because when you post an individual, you get newspaper people writing and saying he's been punished by being sent to a particular region or the other. Or you have us politicians saying, this is my relative, therefore bring them back to Freetown for them not to go. Sierra Leone has to be viewed as one country. And therefore we should get people to serve in all parts of Sierra Leone. So the very first issue is personnel. The next issue is equipment. Equipment. May I say that we have secured $6 million from Kuwait fund, and as at now, government of Sierra Leone is working on a whole mix of profile for equipment, for secondary hospitals, and for all primary healthcare units. Again, we are soliciting your support because procurement procedures are very lengthy. It can take 12 months before the first item to get here. And we would like Ministry of Health to be heightened as one that we need to do it now. And for all of us, government to find a way of shortening that procurement process. The third issue that I would like to highlight is quality of service. I want you to note that the ministry has already created not a directorate, but a program unit for quality of service. We are aware of what has been viral, for example, in Pujan or at PCMH, about weaknesses in personnel in the regions. We would like you to know that we are all in this together, although I am at the helm as the leader in this issue. But if the water that you drink at home is polluted, you would eventually get to the Ministry of Health, one hospital or another for service. If the food that you eat does not have the balance that we require, you would eventually get to the Ministry of Health. What we are saying, we get all the effect of whatever you do at home. If your environment is not clean enough, you would eventually find yourself in one of the services of the Ministry of Health. So we appreciate how multi-sectorial this is. That if the Ministry of Water Resources have not given you a full array of quality of water with the physical chemical properties all right, you would eventually find yourself to the Ministry of Health. If the Ministry of Agriculture and the food security sector, you do not have the balanced diet, at some stage you will find yourself with diabetes, with cancer, along the line. Therefore, we now have to start to talk as a unit. If the young people are going to have children and the mother is under the age of 18, then indeed there are problems, first of all, for the mother to even have the child. But that child will have a problem with the nutritional status of that child, and this country, 30% or so of the children would be stunted. So just the age of you being pregnant comes back and affects the Ministry of Health. The nutritional status of the mother comes back and affects the Ministry of Health. We cannot give universal health coverage if there is no universality with regards to the approach that we take this. So this meeting is more like an appeal for you all, and for you to be notified that we would go out to expand in 2020 the immunization scheme. We would go out to emphasize that we get exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months after birth. We would go out and we would like you to join me on the 12th, the day that we are going to launch UHC is the day that we will launch also blood service, the national blood service entity in this country, to say we lose a lot of pregnant women as a consequence of unavailability of blood. But you must work with us to be able to attain these. Finally, the last inter-collaboration that we must have is to work with the Ministry of Local Government for the SLESHI, the Sierra Leone Health Insurance Scheme, because we have just launched the poverty index in this country. And in that poverty index, you're talking about over 60% of Sierra Leoneans can be classified as poor. If you are looking at food poor, it could even be higher. Therefore, if there is no insurance support for us to be able to provide these services, it is going to be extremely difficult. This is more of an educational form for us to we are just starting the campaign. So between now and April 27, note that, Independence Day, is the day we would ask His Excellency the President to declare the initialization, not the achievement of, the initialization of UHC in Sierra Leone. We'll start. Remember I said it is up to 2030. It is a 10-year plan, but His Excellency, we hope, would use this as a main thrust, a main platform to declare UHC for Sierra Leone, the 27th of April. We would use 2 districts as launch districts to practice what to do. For the political versatility of Sierra Leone, we would use Bo and Makeni for us to ensure all the services we should provide, we do so in Bo and McKinney, and for us to start to appreciate what the pitfalls are. So when you expand to Port Local, where I come from, to Karine, where I come from, it is all going to be right. We are not going to, we are going to wait for you to practice, and after the practice, we use the correctness to get it right. But Sierra Leone, we would expand this and use our gaps as learning experiences for the next chiefdom, the next light. Let me end up by saying the 12th of December is designated as the UHC Day, where everywhere we should work towards them getting access to quality, affordable healthcare. Everyone, everywhere. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Uri. I will now call on Dr. H. Taylor, Deputy Minister of Energy, to make a short statement.
Good afternoon all, and I want to thank the Acting Permanent Secretary for allowing us here again this afternoon. And sadly, even the Minister of Communication, who was supposed to be here, I'm sure also has another engagement. And even myself, I'll be joining very shortly, at the funeral kind of ceremony. We are called upon by the Minister of Information just to provide update with respect to the energy sector. And this has been a perennial issue. I think we've come here a couple of times just to provide additional information, because one thing even our senior colleague minister mentioned a short while ago, Professor Uri, was that you, the media, you are very much critical, particularly in providing, the requisite information to the public. And we believe you are very critical also, especially in nation building, when it comes to information dissemination. So I am here on behalf of the minister, who has asked me to also tender his apology, because notwithstanding even the funeral, he also has another engagement, which presently is attending to. But as I say again, we're all partners in development. So I just want to provide an update with respect to what our generation potentials are as it is now, and also what our transmissions and distribution situation is. As you may all aware, we have several grid settings all over the country, starting from Freetown here, right down to Kono, onto Lungi, and onto Bo. And as it is, we have an installed capacity of about 160 megawatts. And currently what is available, that is what we are currently using, is about 85 megawatts. And I'm sure it's an open secret that in the urban area here, particularly in Freetown, we primarily depend on Bumbuna as well as the car power ship. And you already know exactly the combination of how it goes with respect to how, the two systems operate. Bumbuna normally peaks in at the rainy season, which we've been enjoying for the past 3-4 months. No sooner the water level at the dam subsides, then we also have the car power coming in to complement the lost energy from Bumbuna. We also have the main transmission line, that is the 161 line running from Bumbuna right down to Kintom. And I am sure, because you've also seen in social media that even the second power ship is here for the past week, and we are presently on the process of trying to integrate both ships so that in the event Bumbuna goes down, say in the middle of February or March, then I'm sure we'll have excess capacity to supply, especially in the western area. So very soon, hopefully by the end of this month, we'll have the two ships, synchronized, especially at the main distribution hub at Kintom. We also have the Goma unit, which is in the far east. That is what you normally call the Dodo Hydro. It is there, which was initially being installed with 4 turbines at a rating of 1.5 megawatts. But as we stand here now, as I stand here talking to you, I think we've lost 2 of the turbines, and even the third one is almost 50% efficient. So presently the output in Goma is just about 2 megawatts. So meaning we've lost almost 60 to 70% of its efficiency over the past few years. And another critical arm, which presently as a government we've been pushing, because that is one of the flagship of His Excellency the President, that is on the renewable space. And as I stand here, in the next 1 week or so, His Excellency has graciously accepted to even commission some of the mini grids all over the country. And I am sure you'll be duly invited to cover that groundbreaking kind of ceremony. And we've completed 54 of the mini grids. And as I stand here, we've also been able to assemble all of the 40 sites which have been identified for the work package 2, so that some other communities will also be enjoying, the full benefit of mini grids in other areas. So hopefully before the end of next year, we'll have an additional 40 fairly big communities, because the systems that they are going to install are going to be relatively bigger than what we've seen in work package 1. And you've already seen also quite recently, especially from the USTDA, the United States Development Trade Agency, that we've been able to solicit a grant of about $900,000, which, as I stand here, there is an ongoing feasibility study all over the country to identify 45 potential mini grid hotspots with 5 productive use kind of installations. So, and we believe by virtue of the log frame which we have with respect to the works, I am sure in the next 12 months that feasibility study is going to be concluded. And also now it is concluded, it gives us leverage now to bring in more private sector players with respect to looking at how bankable those projects are going to be. Having said all of this, what are some of the pipeline projects that we believe you should understand or maybe know, so that you get to understand exactly the strides we've been making? As we speak, we've already had a PPA agreement with Planet Core to provide a 50 megawatt solar plants. So it's 50 megawatt solar field scattered all over the country, one close to McKinney, one in Bo, one in Kono, and then one in Potloko. Presently, they've already cleared even the site at a place called Yomandu, just in Bo district. And we also have solar area again in Bo, and we also have the solar park, which is a 6 megawatt in Newton, and that is going to be completed come June 2020. And of course, we have Bumbuna 2, which has been a long-standing issue in the ministry, but I am very pleased to tell you that we continue to negotiate, especially with the developers, because there were still bottlenecks which we are trying to thrash out. And we also have the Big Congo Hydro Falls, and I'm sure we've also gone very far with the negotiations. So all these are pipeline projects. And the reason why, if you listen or you look at all of these, you could clearly see that these are like renewable sources. And the reason why we are very much keen on renewables is because these are what you normally call least cost generation options, or like the thermal kind of options which presently we have. So that is just a summary of the generation component of the energy sector in the ministry. And now let me just go to one of the main issue which I think has been grappling for quite a long period of time. That is the transmission and then the distribution backbone. As I stand here, we've been able to secure funding from the African Development Bank and DFID to upgrade the 33 kV network in Bo. And since we came in, I think we've been able to redesign the entire complexion of the project. And as it is now, we've been able also to convince the bank that rather than having a 33 line being insulated at 33, then we need to have what we call a 33 line but insulated now at 66. The reason being, we envisage the expansion of those two communities and also communities along the corridor to grow in the not distant future. So increasing the capacity gives leverage for foreseeable kind of development. So that is one of the ongoing projects, particularly for the transmission and distribution network. And quite soon also we'll be having a nationwide tour, and I'm pretty sure we'll invite some of you just to go around and see exactly the progress being made for the Transco CLSG line, especially for the substations. And I'm very much pleased to tell you that I think we've gone over 80% of the works complete, especially the substations. The one in Kenema is all virtually complete. The one in Kono is also virtually complete. And the one also in Bumbuna is virtually complete. And the reason why I'm emphasizing that is because for us, especially the Kenema, Kono, and Bumbuna, I think we'll be able to tap in from the line. So presently, 2 weeks ago, we have the DG EDSA and also Mr. Bao, who is from EWRC. Sorry that I did not recognize you earlier. But they sent a team, especially to those communities, to actually do a survey And this survey was meant to see how we could tap in from the lines. And as I stand here now, the design is being done, and even the bill of quantities now is being submitted to the bank, because we want, as at the time, the substation or the line is going to be energized, then we should be able to tap in power. And we are firmly within that kind of framework. So just to give you an update on that. And we've also, spoken to the bank with respect to, villages along the corridor, so that they could also benefit or have access to the service. And as I stand here, we've been able to get almost 39 communities along the CLSG line corridor, spanning from Pujehun right down to Cambia. So we have about 39 communities that are going to be electrified, hopefully in the next 18 months. Because 2 weeks ago, we were able to contract the supervising consultant from Ghana, and he's here already. He's already done that, and the BOQ is being sent to the bank. And we also have this project, the India Exim Bank project, which is a 225 kV network running from Fadugu to Putloko and then right down to Waterloo, which is going to be the main switching station. And on that project, as I stand here again, we've received 3 supervising consultant kind of information, and the bank is doing the evaluation. And no sooner we get the final winner, then the entire bid document is going to be, tendered out. So these are some of the ongoing projects. And we also have the Southern Corridor line, which is going to run from Waterloo. It goes through Mamama, it goes to Bradford, to Rotifung, to Moyamba, and then to Rutile, and finally to the Mano substation close to Pujehun border. Sorry, to the Liberian border. So that is also in an advanced stage, because even as I stand here again, we had 3 or 4 kind of, developers who have interest in it. And so what we've done, we've been working closely with ECOWAS, and they are presently helping us to evaluate the most responsive kind of proposal that has been sent. So all these are like pipeline kind of activities which presently we've been pushing. And some of the sector initiatives that we've also been able to achieve over the past few months was that I am sure pretty soon, especially next week, you'll have like outlets, especially from the private sector, that are going to be selling meters to the public. So what I'm saying here is the issue about meters, which has been a long-thorny issue, particularly in the energy sector, is going to be a thing of the past. Because I think is it not a week ago that we had about 8,000 meters, which is in country now. So it's just to give some of this information out there. And I'm pretty sure, again, you must have heard about, some of the problems, especially we have at EDSA with respect to the consumers. Because it is an open secret. The problems at EDSA is really huge with respect to the losses. So that's the reason why we've come up with a kind of a new platform or an initiative which the MCCU has graciously consented to fund. And I'm sure very soon, before the end of this month, they will tender that particular procurement process. It is to have like an independent verifier, what we normally call a third-party grid loss verifier, to go after those who are doing all of these illegal connections, to go after those who are like, bypassing meters, because these are like the perennial issues which have really hampered the growth of the energy sector. So all of these are ongoing initiatives, and of course we've been able to migrate from that postpaid kind of vending system to an advanced payment scheme now, and of course we have far gone with the discussion of transitioning from the HFO power badge which we have now to like LNG. And the reason why we are looking at LNG, I remember last year when His Excellency went to Equatorial Guinea, we came to realize that LNG is the way to go, even though it is a non-renewable kind of source, but it is much cleaner with respect to the traditional or conventional form of generation. So His Excellency, encouraged us to see how we could, have this kind of technology in place. And we've gone far with some of the discussions. And the beauty about transitioning to LNG is because we are going to have a much reduced tariff as compared to even the HFO kind of badge. So very soon you'll be updated about some of those activities which are ongoing in the ministry. And of course, we've been able to secure a World Bank funding, which His Excellency actually got for us. I think, was it in February or March this year? And according to what I made to understand, the bidding documents are going to be out in the next 3 or 4 weeks. And the reason why we are very much keen on that is to actually address this persistent problem of the distribution network in the Western area. You will all agree the western area kind of backbone is an 11,000 volt line backbone. So what we've done now is we've tripled this kind of carrying capacity now from an 11 kV network to now a 33, which is much bigger kind of network. And at the same time, we're also going to cascade, especially the primary substation, in 5 major locations. 1 at Aberdeen, 2 at King Tom, 3 at Falcon Bridge, 4 at Jue, and then 5 at Waterloo. And I'm very pleased to also report here that in the past week or so, we've been able to have the certified land ownership document from the Ministry of Lands, because that is one of the prerequisites. And we've got that one, and the conveyance is signed, and no sooner the tender goes out, then work is going to start earnest, maybe in the next 3-4 months. And I am sure once we go through this particular exercise, then the issue about the distribution network, which is really the main challenge, especially in Western area, is going to be a thing of the past. So just to give you thumbs up on that we've gone far with that. And of course, we've also initiated the planning unit at the Ministry of Energy, because one thing that was really missing in the ministry when we came there was we did not have what we call the planning unit. So there are a whole lot of issues which are ongoing in the ministry. But just to summarize, these are just few of the highlights which I think might be useful for your information. And in the event you have or you need further clarifications, I think we'll be able to maybe provide some answers or all the answers to your questions. So in my midst, I have the Director General of EDSA, Dr. July, and then I also have the Head of Economics at the Electricity and Water Regulatory Commission, Mr. Ba. So both of them accompanied me, and I want to thank you very much for your time and the audience you gave us, and thank you very much again.
So we'll now call on a representative from SALCAB to give us a short statement.
Good afternoon, the Honorable Ministers and dignitaries present. SALCAB is not a regular face in this press conference, so I'll just use this brief time to introduce SALCAB and as well make a statement on the reason why we're here this afternoon. So I'm here with a colleague of mine, Fatima Bayo. She's from the commercial unit. I am Francis FCC. I am working in the technical unit. SALCAB Limited, for those who do not know, is a transport network that provides transport services for all our big ISPs in Sierra Leone, internet service providers, our mobile network operators nationwide. So we are as well carriers of carrier. So all of our data that goes out of Sierra Leone, our voice, our video data, or whatever download you are doing, has to go through the SALCAB network. So indirectly, SALCAB is serving the rest of the populace in Sierra Leone. We're here this afternoon to pass on an information of things that are happening within SALCAB, because it's incumbent on us to inform the populace of what is happening. SALCAB is part of a bigger consortium which consists of several other countries, including Liberia and Guinea. SALCAB in Sierra Leone manages the ACE submarine cable. ACE is the African Coast to Europe submarine cable that runs from Penmarch in France and from Telvent in Lisbon in Portugal to Sao Tome right down the south. So SALCAB happens to be a branch of this expansive network. It's unfortunate I cannot project that, but I'll have shown you the network setup for the ACE consortium. So SALCAB happens to be part of the second segment of this cable. We have two paths when we want to provide data for the populace in Sierra Leone. We have a path from Freetown to Monrovia, then to Abidjan and to Europe. We also have a second path from Freetown to Conakry. So we have alternative path to move data from Sierra Leone, which serves as a redundancy. But of late, we noticed that the consortium notices there's a problem at Dakar. Dakar is a trunk station. That is, all of our traffic that comes from Sierra Leone has to go to Dakar before it is sent to Europe. So Dakar is a key trunk station. Of late, we noticed that there is a fault on the cable in Dakar. It's called a shunt fault. We cannot go into depth in that, but I think the people from EDSA will be able to expand on that. But there's a shunt fault, which is an electrical fault, that will actually lead to us losing services on the cable. So the ACE consortium was proactive enough to ensure that this fault is repaired before our signal to Europe is totally degraded. So they have come in with all the experts. They are mobilizing a ship, because you need a specialized ship to fix such a fault. And Alcatel-Lucent is responsible for this. So they will be fixing the fault at Dakar. But the effect of fixing this fault will mean that there is going to be a disconnection. And this disconnection doesn't only affect Sierra Leone, but it also affects all the countries that are in segment 2, and segment 3, which includes Liberia, Guinea, Equatorial Guinea, Benin, Nigeria, Ghana. But the difference between Sierra Leone and these other big countries is that in places like Nigeria and Ghana, you have several other cables apart from the ACE cable. So if there's a problem with the ACE cable, they can easily reroute their traffic on another type of cable. So that's a disadvantage on us, but as an institution, we are proactive enough to ensure that we get an advantage on this as well. So the cable repair is going to start on the 7th of December, that is 2 days from now, and it's going to last for 10 days. During the cable repair process, it means we're going to be losing services. But SALCAB is not going to sit back and see Sierra Leoneans being disconnected for 10 days from our internet usage and our voice. So we're proactive enough to make alternative arrangements to reroute our traffic. We need to know about this, because as a populace, if the services are down, it affects everybody. So we have made an alternative arrangement to still be able to get Sierra Leoneans connected to the internet even when the ACE cable is down. So we will be moving our traffic to Nigeria, and then from Nigeria, they'll then put that traffic on another cable that goes straight to Europe. So we're here to provide the assurance to the general populace of Sierra Leone. I know some of you may have heard of the potential repairs. The ISPs are more aware of this. It is what's important and mandatory on us to actually inform you of the proactive measures that we have taken. So that is why I'm here with my colleague to actually put this across and inform the populace that SALCAB is on top of situation, and we have an alternative path to Europe. And even when the ACE cable is disconnected, Sierra Leoneans are not going to be disconnected. We are going to be online 24/7. Thank you.
Una sef don listen, the updates will come out today inside the Ministry of Information and Communication and press briefing. Inside the press briefing today, we'll be get with the Minister of Health, winner Dr. Alpha Wuri, and also the Deputy Minister of Energy, winner Dr. H. Taylor. Both the ministers them can talk, but them achievements and what they don't get, now then different ministry them. And also today we'll be get with three representatives from SALCAB. We can talk about waiting themselves done they do. We will bring the press briefing program to you today. My name na Kona Sise. So till we meet again to another edition of press briefing, I say tata.